Hello and welcome back to God in Our Experience, readings from the book of Matthew to experience the living presence of Jesus Christ in our own lives right now. Today's reading is one of the most controversial things that Jesus said, if not the most controversial thing that Jesus said, and it comes from Matthew chapter 5, verse 27 to 32. Jesus says, "You have heard that it was said, 'You shall not commit adultery,' but I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with lust has already committed adultery with her in his heart. But if your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one of your members than for your whole body to be thrown into hell. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. It's better for you to lose one of your members than for your whole body to go into hell. It was also said, 'Whoever divorces his wife, let him give her a certificate of divorce.' But I say to you that anyone who divorces his wife, except on the ground of unchastity, causes her to commit adultery, and whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery." I know that this is a tough teaching, and I know that there's a lot of baggage attached to it, but just bear with me and let's break it down, and let's see what Jesus can say to you today. Jesus' cure for lust is shocking and extreme. He says, cut off your hand and gouge out your eye. We have to admit that lust possesses all of us from time to time, but no matter how badly we want to follow Jesus, none of us are ever going to perform this horrible self-surgery. And that means that when we talk about these issues, we end up a little embarrassed, not quite sure what to do with Jesus' most extreme sounding teaching. Most interpreters agree that Jesus tackles the subject of lust in such a crude way because he wants to shock us into paying attention to something that we would rather not discuss. Jesus says this the way that he says it because he needs to shock us into talking about the way that we look at women, and he needs us to listen to him. The point of this teaching is a continuation of the teaching that comes before it. In the teaching before it, Jesus says that our attitudes toward each other determine whether or not we can build safe, supportive, and healthy communities. If hatred is just as destructive to our relationships as murder, then lust is just as bad as adultery. And for us modern people, Jesus might add that inwardly fantasizing about having sex with a woman is just as bad as assaulting her. When we dehumanize women with our thoughts, and when we objectify women, and when we make women into objects of pleasure, we make society unsafe for every daughter and mother and sister and wife and friend. It might not seem like our secret lustful thoughts make the world into a hell for women, but Jesus taught that what goes on in our hearts does actually contribute. For communities to really work, even the silent inner dishonoring of each other has to stop. And here's the hard part. Jesus teaches that it's your responsibility to deal with your own lust. Notice that he doesn't say anything about covering women's bodies to make them less attractive. Notice that he doesn't say anything about plucking out the eyes and chopping off the hands of other people. He puts the responsibility to get your sexual appetites under control very squarely on your shoulders, whatever it takes. So, hold on just a second. Put down your hand-chopping knife and your eye-gouging spoon. We need to reflect on this a little bit more and understand why this Bible passage isn't something that we actually have to read literally. Because obviously Jesus doesn't want you to harm yourself. Obviously he knows that your problem is not with your eyes or your hands. Even a blind man or a double amputee is capable of lustful thoughts. The cure for an out-of-control sexual appetite can't be some wild, self-harming fanaticism. At either extreme, we're still completely possessed by our sexual thoughts. Even if you're fighting them with everything in your power, those thoughts are still determining the course of your life. What we need is balance. Balance in the form of appropriate and respectful sexual expression. And that's what human communities need to stay healthy and safe for all members. Jesus never spoke negatively about sex itself. God made sex, and it's part of the human ability to participate in God's creative act. The problem is the selfish appetite that objectifies our human sisters and makes it impossible for them to thrive in this world. Jesus' charge to us is to fight every dehumanizing predatory hunger within yourself so that you can learn to treat your female counterparts with the dignity and respect and love that they deserve as the image of God. To find a healthy balance in our sexual appetites is really difficult inner work. It's much harder than cutting off a hand or gouging out an eye, dealing with those thoughts and with those desires and with those impulses. But with the help of the Spirit, if you quietly and humbly work to correct your thoughts and attitudes toward others, you'll actually become part of the solution. You'll help correct the broken relationships between the sexes, and you'll help return your community to peace and safety for all. With that shocking imagery of self-surgery, Jesus puts that responsibility squarely on each of us, and he puts that responsibility squarely on you. I don't want to give you any exercises here that stigmatize sexuality. One of the things that the mystical tradition of Christianity has always struggled with is that stigmatization of sexuality, and it's been very unhealthy for a lot of young people over the years, from the first monks and nuns all the way up to purity culture today. And so I don't want to give you too much self-reflection here that's going to make you feel guilty about being a sexual person. What I think we can each do, though, is spend some time praying to God and asking for his help to make us responsible for our sexual appetites and for the safety and the well-being of our sisters and of the children that are part of our community. So spend some time praying and ask God, help me to take responsibility for my own lusts and appetites. And we'll see you next time.